At the start of the 2025-26 season, Kobbie Mainoo has practically vanished from the spotlight at both Manchester United and the England national team. The name that was once a locked-in starter in the FA Cup final, and a vital presence for the Three Lions in the Euro 2024 final, now finds himself in a state of limbo. He is no longer an automatic choice, no longer the poster child for the next generation. Under Ruben Amorim, the 2005-born midfielder has seen his minutes slashed. At times, he's been pushed down the pecking order, sparking serious doubts about his role, his form, and his very future at Old Trafford. For a midfielder who is still only 20 years old, losing his rhythm at the club level means one painful reality: the door to the national team is slowly swinging shut. However, in the opening weeks of 2026, the landscape shifted entirely. Ruben Amorim departed, Michael Carrick took the reins, and he immediately restored his protégé to the heart of the system. More importantly, Mainoo didn't just find his footing at Manchester United, his masterclasses against Arsenal, Manchester City, and Fulham proved he has everything it takes to return, and perhaps play a starring role, for England at the 2026 World Cup. The struggles under Ruben Amorim weren't down to a drop in individual quality. At no point did the young midfielder lose the traits that made him a household name the moment he stepped onto the first-team stage: the silky touch, the elite reading of the game, and a level of composure rarely seen in someone barely out of their teens. What we saw wasn't a decline in talent, but a mismatch between a player and a system. Amorim demanded a rigid tactical structure, a midfield built on high intensity, relentless pressing, and raw physical duels. In that model, midfielders are expected to cover massive ground and thrive on constant contact. It was an environment that didn't quite suit a player who excels through subtlety, tempo control, and grace under pressure, rather than pure brute force. This tactical friction saw him drift away from the starting 11, despite making no major errors. The consequences were swift: his Premier League minutes dwindled, and his appearances became sporadic. A status once thought untouchable suddenly felt fragile. The media began to circle. Rumors surfaced that the club might listen to offers, and even a loan move was whispered as a genuine possibility. For a 20-year-old, this is a psychological minefield. Losing your rhythm doesn't just affect your touch, it shakes your confidence and your standing on the international stage. To the England coaching staff, he was no longer a guaranteed name. At this level, club consistency is everything, and other midfielders were simply leapfrogging him by playing week in, week out. The door to the national team wasn't locked, but the gap was closing fast. There was a very real danger of a generational talent stagnating at a pivotal moment in his career. Then came Michael Carrick, arriving at Old Trafford as interim boss. Carrick brought more than just short-term stability. He understood Mainoo through the eyes of a fellow midfielder. He didn't see a player who needed to run the most or shout the loudest. He saw a conductor responsible for rhythm and space. Carrick himself was the master of playing under pressure, neat, tidy, and always in the right place. Though rarely seeking the spotlight, he immediately gave Mainoo the oxygen a control-style midfielder needs to shine. United reverted to a midfield three, moving away from a system of pure destruction. In this setup, Mainoo is no longer shackled by purely defensive chores or forced into physical brawls. He is tasked with receiving the ball in deep areas, escaping tight presses, and linking Casemiro to the attack. Mainoo became the pivot, the heartbeat of the transition, rather than just a cog in a pressing machine. The results of this reactivation have been undeniable over the last 3 matches. He isn't just doing a job, he is dominating under high pressure, maintaining the team's structure when opponents turn up the heat. It's clear now, he never lost his core qualities, he just needed to be put back into a context where they could flourish. Mainoo remains a rare breed, a press-resistant midfielder. He wants the ball when he's marked, possesses incredible balance in tight spaces, and makes clinical decisions. Those crisp short passes and that signature swivel to escape trouble remain the bedrock of his game. But under Carrick, Mainoo is being unlocked further. His long-range passing and ability to switch play have improved drastically, allowing United to transition faster, He's more proactive, driving the ball through the first line of defense rather than just playing it safe. Rio Ferdinand captured this evolution perfectly, noting that Mainoo's greatest strength is his courage to demand the ball in danger zones that most young players avoid. His ability to manipulate the ball and use his body to beat the press allows him to dictate games in the harshest environments. Ferdinand emphasized that he doesn't just escape the press, he destroys it. For years, England's Achilles heel hasn't been a lack of talent, but a lack of control. The Three Lions have always had power, pace, and explosiveness, but in the biggest games, the script is always the same: they get pressed, the tempo gets frantic, and they lose the midfield battle. Without a calm head to pulse the play, England resorts to hurried, aimless long balls. Kobbie Mainoo is the solution to that puzzle. He may not be the fastest or the strongest, but he possesses what England rarely produces: the ability to dictate the temperature of a game. This aligns perfectly with the philosophy of Thomas Tuchel. The German coach prioritizes space and positioning over pure athleticism. He needs midfielders who sit in the right pockets, screen gaps, and organize play. In Tuchel's world, Mainoo is a far better fit than a traditional, box-to-box workhorse. Renewing Mainoo's contract amidst the club's restructuring wasn't just administrative, it was a strategic statement. By valuing him at £60 million and making him a cornerstone of the long-term project, Manchester United has elevated him. He is no longer a prospect to be tested, he is a pillar to be protected. Mainoo is not a rotation option or a financial asset to be traded. He is the future. Jason Wilcox made that message loud and clear: not for sale, not for negotiation. This direct intervention from the sporting director solidifies the belief that Mainoo is the nucleus of United's midfield for years to come, regardless of who is in the dugout. For the England national team, this is the ultimate insurance policy. A player starting regularly for a massive club, backed by a long-term strategy, always has the edge. It's not about fame, it's about the stability found at the highest level. Right now, every star is aligning for him. Manchester United is stabilizing. Mainoo is back at the center of the system, and his performance is defined by consistency rather than flashes of brilliance. He doesn't need to prove he's the strongest or the fastest. He just needs to keep doing what he does best: keeping the rhythm, keeping the ball, and keeping his head when everyone else is losing theirs. The door to the England squad is no longer just a hope for the future. It is a very real, very immediate reality. Kobbie Mainoo isn't knocking on the door anymore, the opportunity is coming to find him.